Most people think growing older means slowing down, that it's the beginning of the end, the fading of the light. But what if that's not true? What if right now, in this very moment, your body, your mind, your spirit are still carrying signs of strength and vitality that science can't ignore? What if I told you that if you still have these 5 signs, you're not finished, not by a long shot? In fact, according to the latest research, you may just be getting started. Now listen closely, because today is not just about how long you live. It's about how you live, with purpose that pulls you out of bed in the morning, with peace that no longer needs to prove anything, and with power, not the loud, roaring kind, but the kind that grows quietly inside of you after everything else has fallen away. Whether you're 65 and rebuilding after loss, 75 and rediscovering joy, or 85 and finally breathing freely after decades of noise, this is for you. This space, this moment, this video is yours. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk gently but deeply through 5 signs rooted in science but spoken from the heart that suggest you are not only aging gracefully but powerfully. These aren't just facts, they're reflections. They're reminders of the strength already living inside of you. We'll hear stories of real people just like you, who found themselves in the later chapters. And we'll talk honestly about what it means to thrive, not despite your age, but because of it. So settle in, take a deep breath, and know this: if you're still here, there's still time. Not just time left, but time worth living. Let's begin. Sign number 1, you wake up with purpose. You know, it's easy to underestimate what it means to simply wake up and feel like your day has meaning. But if you're someone who still rises in the morning with something, anything pulling you forward, that is no small thing. In fact, scientists have found it could be one of the most powerful indicators of long life. Not just in years, but in quality. Researchers at the University of Michigan and studies published in JAMA Psychiatry have shown that older adults who report having a strong sense of purpose are more likely to live longer, healthier lives. They're more resilient. Their bodies and minds stay sharper. Their hearts literally beat stronger. But let's put the research aside for just a second and let's talk about you. Maybe you don't think of it as purpose. Maybe you just know you feel more like yourself when you're tending to your garden in the early light. When your hands are in the dirt and the air still smells like dew. Maybe your morning starts with feeding your dog, or writing in your journal, or checking in on a friend you know needs a little extra kindness. Or maybe it's something bigger. You volunteer at a local school, or you spend your mornings mentoring someone who reminds you of your younger self. There's a woman I met not long ago. Her name is Clara. She's 78. Every morning, she walks 3 blocks to the community center where she reads to kids. She doesn't do it because she needs to. She does it because it fills her. She told me once, "They think I'm helping them, but they have no idea what they do for me." That right there is purpose. So, let me ask you something, and really take a moment here. What gives you that feeling? That quiet drive that says, "Today matters and so do I." It doesn't have to be grand. Could be a letter you write, plant you water, a neighbor you check in on. Whatever it is, I want you to sit with that. And if you feel like sharing, drop it in the comments. What gives you a sense of purpose? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Maybe you still wake up asking, "What can I do for someone today?" That's a powerful force, a kind of invisible strength that keeps your spirit moving forward even when the body feels tired. It's the difference between drifting through time and living in it. You see, purpose doesn't mean you have to change the world. Sometimes it means loving it just a little more each day. Loving yourself, loving others, making even the smallest choice that says, "I'm still here, I still matter." Let that sink in. And now, let's take a short moment to breathe together. Look around you or close your eyes if that feels better. Listen to the quiet or the soft noises of your space. Feel your feet on the ground, your breath moving in and out. Your time matters. Your energy, your wisdom, it's a gift to the world. Even if no one's told you that today, I'm telling you now, and you're only 1 sign in. There's more life, more strength, more beauty in you than you might realize. Let's keep going. Sign number 2, you stay socially connected. They say we're social creatures, but you already know that, don't you? There's something in us, deep, maybe even ancient, that needs connection. We're not wired to go it alone. And as we get older, that need doesn't fade. If anything, it becomes more important than ever. Science agrees. One of the longest-running studies in the world, the Harvard study of adult development, followed people for over 80 years. And you know what they found? It wasn't money, it wasn't fame, and it wasn't even physical health that predicted a long and fulfilling life. It was relationships. The quality of your connections. The people who know your story, who make you laugh, who remember the sound of your voice when it trembles and when it sings. You don't need a stadium full of friends. You don't need weekly parties or constant chatter. But if you have even one person, someone you can call when your heart is full or when it's heavy, then your heart is doing something extraordinary. It's thriving. Let me tell you about James. James is 74. He lost his wife a few years ago, 46 years together. After her passing, the silence in his house became unbearable. For months, he hardly left his chair. But one day, he picked up a worn-out book from their shared shelf, and he remembered how much she used to love reading with him. He read it again, and then another. Soon, he wanted to talk about the stories. So he printed a flyer and walked it down to the local library. New book club, all ages welcome. He didn't expect anyone to show. But 2 did. Then 5. Then 10. And now every other Thursday they gather, people in their 60s, 70s, even a college student or 2. They read, they talk, they drink tea. But more than anything, they connect. James says it saved him. Gave him something to look forward to. Gave him back a reason to smile. Now, maybe you're not starting a book club. But maybe you have someone you send silly texts to. Or you grab coffee with once a week. Maybe you live with a partner or near your kids or call your sister every Sunday. Maybe you walk with a neighbor or swap recipes with an old friend. That's the thread. That's the lifeline. That's what matters. Let me ask you, who do you reach for when your heart is bursting? Or when it feels like it's barely holding together? Who lights up your world just by being in it? Think about that person or people and maybe tell us about them in the comments. Not just for us, but for them. Let them live a little in your story here today. And if you're feeling a little isolated right now, if your days have been quieter than you'd like, I want to remind you, it's never too late to connect, ever. A simple hello, a note, a smile. Start small. That's how every strong bond begins. Connection is the thread that holds us. Don't underestimate its power. You could be the light in someone's day just by reaching out, and in turn, they might be the light in yours. You're not alone. You never were. Let's take a few moments now to just breathe with that thought. Maybe today's the day you call that person, or write that letter, or start something new. There's no wrong way to connect, just the courage to try. Let's keep going. Sign number 3, you're still learning. Isn't it something how the mind never really stops wanting more? Even now, with all your lived years and all the stories behind your eyes, your brain is still stretching, reaching, forming new paths. That's not just poetic, it's science. It's called neuroplasticity. It means your brain can literally rewire itself, learn new tricks, make fresh connections. And it doesn't have an expiration date. Researchers have shown that people who keep learning, who challenge their minds, whether with puzzles, poetry, a new skill, or even learning how to use that complicated remote, those people build what scientists call cognitive resilience. They're less likely to experience cognitive decline, more likely to stay mentally sharp, more equipped to face change with grace and clarity. Maybe you've noticed it in your own life. Maybe you've recently figured out how to use a new app, or learned how to send a gift to make your grandkid laugh. Maybe you started watching documentaries about planets or practicing how to say gracias with a real Spanish accent. Or maybe, just maybe, you picked up that dusty guitar from the attic and plucked a note for the first time in decades. That curiosity you're following? That's not just a fun habit. That's brain fuel. That's your mind stretching its legs, refusing to slow down. I met a man once, Leonard. He was 72 when he bought his first guitar. Not because he thought he'd become a musician. Not because anyone told him to. Just because he wanted to. I've always loved the sound, he told me, and I figured if not now, when? His fingers hurt at first. The chords were a mess. But a year later, he could play Stand By Me from start to finish, and he smiled like a child every time he did. Then there's Maria, 80 years old, learning Spanish because her granddaughter married into a Mexican family. I want to understand their jokes, she said, laughing. That's love. That's learning. That's life. So I'm curious now, what's something new you've learned recently? It doesn't have to be big. Maybe you figured out how to change a setting on your phone. Maybe you tried a new recipe or read a book that stretched your thinking. Tell me in the comments, I want to hear it. And more than that, someone else might need to hear it too. Because learning at this age? It's not just impressive. It's inspiring. You're proof that the journey never really stops. That we're all students of life right until the very end. And honestly, that's beautiful. Let's pause now. Just for a moment. Close your eyes if you'd like. Breathe in through your nose slowly. And out through your mouth. Feel your body settle. Feel your heartbeat steadily. You are growing. You are becoming. You are not behind, you're blooming. Write something down if you want to. A thought. A word. A lesson. A dream. You're still learning. And that means you're still living with a mind wide open. Let's keep going. Sign number 4, you move your body daily. Think about your body right now. Not in a critical way, just gently. Can you feel the way it supports you? Carries you? Maybe the knees creak a little more than they used to. Maybe you don't spring out of bed like you once did, but your body is still here. Still working for you. And that matters more than you know. Daily movement, any kind of movement, is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. Science backs this up over and over. People in the world's longest living communities, places called blue zones like Okinawa, Japan, or Sardinia, Italy, they don't hit the gym at 6 a.m. or run marathons into their 90s. What they do is move often and naturally. They garden. They walk to the market. They kneel to play with the grandkids. Their lives are built on motion, and their bodies thank them for it. The World Health Organization recommends just 150 minutes of moderate activity a week for adults over 65. That's about 20 minutes a day. Not to lose weight, not to hit some arbitrary goal, but to live, to keep joints fluid, to keep balance sharp, to keep the heart beating steadily, to stay in touch with aliveness. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She's 83, and every morning at 6:30, she puts on her favorite old jazz record and dances in the kitchen with her husband. No choreography, no audience, just joy. 2 bodies swaying in a sunlit room, remembering every step, even the ones from decades ago. She says it keeps her heart young and keeps their love strong. Maybe you don't feel like dancing. That's okay. Movement can be as simple as stretching your arms overhead when you wake up, as walking to the mailbox with purpose, as doing a little chair yoga while your tea steeps, or maybe Tai Chi in the park on a cool morning, your breath matching your movement like a soft whisper. Whatever it is, it counts. And I'd love to hear from you. What's your favorite way to move? Is it walking with a friend? Is it tending to your garden, one flower at a time? Maybe it's dancing in your socks while no one's watching. Or maybe you're just getting started and your first step is today. Whatever it is, drop it in the comments. Your way of moving might be the nudge someone else needs. Because here's the truth, you don't have to move like you did when you were 30. You just have to keep moving. One gentle, graceful step at a time. Let's take a small pause together. Motion is emotion. Every step you take is an act of self-love. Every stretch, a reminder that your body still wants to live with you, not against you. There's no finish line here. Just a daily rhythm that says, I'm still here. I'm still going. And that is more than enough. Sign number 5, you remain optimistic about the future. What do you still look forward to? No, really pause and think about that for a second. Is it your morning cup of tea on the porch? A family reunion that's finally happening this summer? Maybe it's the garden you plan to plant next spring or the book you're finally ready to write. If there's something that still makes your heart lean forward, something that sparks a little smile when you imagine it, that's optimism. And it's one of the most powerful signs that you're not just alive, but truly living. Scientists have been studying optimism for decades now. The Mayo Clinic conducted a study tracking people over several decades, and what they found was remarkable. Those who saw the glass as half full, who believed in possibility even during hard times, lived longer. They had lower risks of chronic diseases, better immune responses, and healthier hearts. Literally, hope changes your chemistry. Now, this doesn't mean you've never known pain. Quite the opposite. The kind of optimism we're talking about here isn't about blind positivity or pretending everything's fine. It's the quiet kind, the kind that survives storms. It's what shows up when you've lost a partner but still believe love is possible in other forms. When your plans fell apart, but you kept making new ones anyway. Let me tell you about Harold. He was 85 when he went on his first cruise. Not his 10th, his first. He'd never traveled beyond his home state. But after losing his wife and spending a year in grief, he saw a flyer at his local library. An ocean cruise for seniors. And something inside him just said, "Why not?" He went. Alone. He made friends on the boat, danced every night, watched sunsets in silence, and came back home with stories that made his children laugh until they cried. He said it reminded him he wasn't done. That maybe his life didn't end when hers did. Maybe it was just turning a page. That kind of spirit, that ability to believe there are still memories to be made, even if you've already lived 1,000 chapters. That's not just rare. It's longevity gold. You might be someone who has endured loss or setbacks, or long stretches of silence where you didn't feel like yourself anymore. And yet here you are, still tuning in, still looking for light. Maybe still dreaming, even if those dreams have softened around the edges. Let me ask you something, heart to heart. What's something you still look forward to? Something that gets you out of bed, that makes you feel alive, or even just quietly content? I'd love to read your answer in the comments, because your story might just be the spark someone else needs. Maybe it's a trip you've been saving for. Maybe it's simply tomorrow's breakfast. Or hugging your grandchild at their graduation. Maybe it's just the next beautiful sunset. Whatever it is, hold it close. The future is not reserved for the young. It's built for the hopeful. And if no one's told you this today, your belief in better days is not foolish. It's your power. Your soul doesn't care how old your body is. It's still dreaming, still moving, still growing. You're not done. You're blooming. So as we begin to close this time together, remember this: if you've made it this far through the years, the storms, the joy and the ache, and you still have something to hope for, something to reach toward, then you're already younger than you think. And who knows? Maybe you really will make it to 100. But even if you don't, what a beautiful way to live. Keep going. If you've made it this far and those signs felt like looking into a mirror, then you're already doing something extraordinary. You're not just aging. You're thriving. Quietly, steadily, beautifully. And yes, you just might make it to 100. But even more importantly, you're living in a way that brings light to those around you, whether you realize it or not. Maybe you didn't start this journey thinking you'd begin again at 65, or 70, or 85. But here you are growing anyway, choosing meaning over routine, choosing presence over the past, choosing hope not because life has been easy, but because you know deep down it's still worth it. You are proof that a second act can be stronger, wiser, and more tender than the first. It's never too late to start over. Some people bloom in spring. Others, like you, save their magic for autumn. And that magic? It's golden. It's earned. It's the kind of beauty the world doesn't forget. So if this video spoke to something deep in you, if it reminded you that your story is still unfolding, then share it. Send it to someone who might need to hear they're not too late, that they're not behind, that they too are blooming in their own time. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Stay with us. This space is for late bloomers, for wise hearts, for second chances and third acts, for soulful, science-backed stories that remind us life doesn't end at 60. Sometimes it finally begins. We'll be right here, walking with you. Always.